Ho, 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 and a Merry Christmas to all our silver screen viewers, and welcome back to this, our second annual Christmas special of the Silver Screen podcast, in which we break down a Christmas movie and have a little bit of festive fun. I am joined, as always, by my own personal elf, DK.
Hello, I am the ghost of Christmas past. The 80s were so much better.
And we are joined by, again, our regular helpers, our kind of reindeer, if you will. Adrienne, welcome.
I don't know what sound reindeers make, or I would make it. So hello, everyone.
I was trying to come up with sort of clever reindeer names, so I was going to say Adrienne the Vixen, and then I was like, that sounds a little bit odd. Maybe not.
That's okay. I'll be a vixen for the show today. Awesome.
And we're also joined by, I don't know, our dancer, Sandy. Welcome back.
Hello.
So yeah, the four of us are here to review a Christmas movie, and as I said, have a little bit of fun for the end of the recording year, although we will be back with a live special likely in a week or so. So yeah, if you are unfamiliar with us, I should probably put the banner up, which I have forgotten to do until now, but now I can reveal that the movie we're going to be looking at, if you're not watching on YouTube and can't see our little avatars, is the movie Scrooged from 1986, I want to say. I can't actually remember. DK, you're good at this. You tell me.
Not good this time. Let me have a quick look.
I can't remember if it's sometime in the 80s, and I know it's after Ghostbusters and before.
I thought it was 87, but I'll double check.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and have a look. It doesn't matter.
88.
88. Apparently.
88. We were both wrong.
Well, we were all vaguely in the right area. In any case, it was the 80s. It's a very yuppie Christmas special. But yeah, before all of that, I do have a festive quiz planned to get us all into the mood and have a bit of fun and loosen us up a little bit. I've written it, so I'm going to be the quiz host, as you know, per usual. And it's a 4-round quiz. They're all 4 completely different kinds of rounds, which I'll reveal to you as we go. So, without any further ado, I'm going to throw us over to the silver screen festive quiz. So welcome to this Christmas seasonal quiz. Our contestants, obviously, DK, Adrienne, and Sandy. Are you all raring to go?
Ready.
Awesome. DK?
Yeah.
Adrienne?
Yahoo!
Oh, yay. And DK and Sandy, this is your second in a matter of 2 weeks, because you did just do the musical lyrics quiz with us on our previous episode. So now you're out to redeem yourselves after not winning that one, I believe.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, I don't have my votes for this one either.
Well, we'll see. So I'm going to explain each round as we go. So round 1 is a round that I call Do Quote Me on This. And it is quite simply, I have a list of 10 quotes from movies. Obviously, they are holiday movies. I'm going to read out the quote. And as we did in the lyric quizzes, I want you to shout out your name as your buzzer. So if you think you know it, shout out, and whoever gets there first, I'll ask you for your answer. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. If anybody gets it wrong, I'll throw it open to the others, etc. Pretty straightforward this round anyway. So are we all ready? Fingers on non-existent buzzers, on vocal cords, I suppose.
Yes.
Right. Quote number 1. We elves try to stick to the 4 main food groups: candy, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup.
Oh, that's from oops.
Just shout your name if you think you know it, Adrienne.
Adrienne.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really weird to shout my name. Okay. That is Elf.
It is Elf. Well done. Number 2. You're what the French call les incompetents.
Sandy.
Oh.
Andy?
It is Home Alone.
Yes,
It is Home Alone. Well done.
So can
Number
I change
3.
my name to? Can I please change my name to O?
If you like. You can be Aid if you want, if it's easier than having to pronounce the whole thing. You can be me, since
Right.
Anyway, so number 3. Take care of my heart. Yeah, I promise. It was always going to be yours, one way or another. DK?
Last Christmas.
Yeah, that was a gift for you, basically. I don't even know if the other 2 have seen it.
Oh, I don't
They
even
should.
know
It's
what
brilliant.
that is. Is it? Okay.
Oh, that's a film you should watch this year. Then it's fantastic.
Yeah, that is last Christmas is equivalent to Klaus. Mike's
Yeah.
been getting on me to watch that for
Oh.
ages, and I finally
Oh.
did, and it is brilliant.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, it stars Amelia Clark if you're looking for, in case there's anything else with a vaguely similar
That's
title.
right. That's right. Yes. Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Right. I'll be amazed if anyone gets this, but why not? Number 4. Oh, yes. Well, know this. Time travels with you. The night of the world is a passage of endless night for you until your mission is done.
Adrienne,
Adrienne?
that is the Doctor Who Christmas thing.
It is not. Sorry. No, these are all movies. I haven't included TVs.
Oh, okay. Then it's got to be Krampus.
It's not Krampus, I'm afraid, either. No.
I'm going to take a stab at Santa Claus the movie.
And you'd be right to do that.
Oh my God!
Whoa.
DK, you're amazing.
Well done, DK. An extra point for you. Number 5. Put that cookie down. If I'd done it in the accent, you all would have got it. Put that
DK.
cookie down.
Oh, the
DK.
Grinch. Adrienne.
DK.
Sorry.
Jingle all the way.
It's Jingle All the Way.
I've never seen that.
Oh, that's another one you should watch then.
gosh, I'm gonna know I'd be grounded. I knew it. I only watch a Muppet Christmas Carol.
Fair enough. Right, number 6. You will love business. It is the American way. Sam, it's just at the start expression. England. Oh. It is the British way.
DK.
Adrienne. Oh,
DK.
come on.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh,
It was
dang
not a Christmas Carol. I desperately tried not to show my hand as Adrienne mentioned that just before I came to it on the list here.
I tried like DK. This is not the question you're looking for. Move along.
Number 7 in this round then. Hey, business is business. You use a gun, I use a fountain pen. What's the difference? Let's put it in my terms. You're in a hostile takeover. You snatch us up some green mail,
DK.
but you're not expecting... DK?
Die Hard.
It is Die Hard,
Mhm.
of course.
Thank you.
DK, you are running away with this.
Yeah, you would.
Right, number 8. You sit around here and you spin your little webs and you think the whole world revolves around you and your money. Well, it doesn't, Mr. Potter. In the whole vast configuration of things, I'd say you were nothing but a scurvy little spider.
Oh, that's the black and white one. Yeah, that is, of course, the movie.
Adrienne.
Oh, Adrienne. I can't. Why am I not?
I'll call out your
The guy
name for
becomes an
you.
angel. He becomes an angel at the end. The nice guy we love.
It's there. It's on the tip of your
I
tongue.
know. It's the. Oh, someone else can take it. It's Nick.
Okay.
Left.
Either
It's
of
a
the others know it?
wonderful life.
Yes, it's a wonderful.
It is. It's a wonderful life, Sandy. Well done. Slightly catching up with GK there. Number 9. I'm not just a whimsical figure who wears a charming suit and affects a jolly demeanor, you know. I'm a symbol. I'm a symbol of the human ability to be able to suppress the selfish and hateful tendencies that rule the major part of our lives. If you
Adrienne,
can't believe...
Oh.
Adrienne, I heard
is
you
that
first.
the Santa Claus?
It is not the Santa Claus.
Oh, that
You-
was actually my guess too.
Do either of
Okay.
you two know it, or should I carry on? DK?
Is it Miracle on 34th Street?
It is Miracle on 34th Street. Wow, you are you just an expert on all Christmas movies? What's going on here?
Okay, we know DK's guilty pleasures. He watches
Yeah, clearly.
in the
All
summer.
year long.
None of my
Yes, he
pleasures are
does.
guilty.
He's proud.
And last one for this round, then, if we're all ready, number 10. It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without
Sandy.
packages, boxes. Sandy?
How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Or
Yeah,
the
or the
Grinch.
Grinch, the
The
Illumination
original one,
version, but yeah, either
the,
one.
The first one, the good one.
Absolutely. Well, I love the Illumination one. I just don't love the Jim Carrey one. So yeah.
Oh, the original
the one with Benedict Cumberbatch doing the voice is actually pretty good. I like it. But yeah, the original's still the best. So at the end of that round, then, DK, you are in first place with 6 points. Sandy, you're in second with 3 points. Adrienne, you are just behind with 1 point, bringing up the rear, but still all to play for. We have another 3 rounds. So quickly going straight on to round number 2 then, and it's the round that I call It's Christmas All Over the World. There are 5 questions to this one. I'm going to name you a movie from its translated foreign title. So basically, I will give you the country that it's from and what the title is. We're going to see if you can guess what the movie is. And again, they're all Christmas movies, so it might be just worth a shot if you don't know it, because this might be a bit difficult. So, number 1, which movie is known in Denmark as Mission: Christmas Present? Go on, have a guess,
DK?
someone. DK?
It's not Jingle All the Way, is it?
It is Jingle All the Way.
Okay. I
It's
get
the
it.
only
So
one I
you're
could
good at-
think of where he's searching for a present. So
Yeah. Number 2 then. In France, which film is known as The Tree Has the Balls? Nobody wants to hazard a guess at this?
I can't even hazard a guess.
No? Shall I just reveal it then?
yeah, you better.
That was apparently the translated French title for National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh,
Ah.
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but anyway, that's a different discussion. I really do need to give it another go. I've only seen it once. Anyway, number 3. Which film is known in Italy as Mom, I Missed the Plane?
Sandy.
Okay.
Home Alone.
Andy?
Sorry.
But that was my Home Alone.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear anything else, so I'm just
Oh,
going to That's a point for Sandy. Let's see. Number 4. Which film is known in Germany as Is This Life Not Wonderful?
Sandy.
Adrienne.
Sandy?
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life, absolutely. You're definitely catching up now, Sandy. And finally, for this round, which film is known in Spain as The Glass Jungle?
DK.
DK?
Die Hard.
Die Hard is right. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
And at the end of that round, DK, you're in first place with 8 points. Sandy, you're catching up with 5. Adrienne, you're still on 1, but you can still turn it around. So, round 3 is a round that I call Holly Yay or Holly Nay. So I'm going to give you the titles of 10 movies, and I want you guys to tell me if these following movies are actual Hallmark movies or just fake ones that I've completely made up. Okay? So in this round, I'm just going to come to each of you individually because there's no point in shouting out since we can just get the correct responses. So I'll give you the title, then come to you each one at a time as on the screen here, DK, Adrienne, Sandy, and we'll take it from there. So, number 1, is this Holly Yay or Holly Nay? Is it real or fake? 3 wise men and a baby. DK.
I'm going to say Holly Nay.
Okay. Adrienne?
Oh, that's a movie, right?
Okay.
That's a
So
movie.
Sandy? Sandy?
I'm gonna say no also.
It is actually a Hallmark movie. So, Adrienne, you're the only one that gets a point for that
Oh.
one.
You gotta
That's
be
a
kidding
movie.
me.
It exists. It's out there.
And
This
I
round
don't
is gonna
watch
be an eye-opener.
those. I've never watched a Hallmark thing, Christmassy thing, so I was lucky.
Number 2, Meet the Santas. DK?
Holly Nay.
Okay. Adrienne?
Well, is it like Meet the Parents, but it's Santa?
I don't know. Maybe it's fake. I don't know.
Pass, because that
No, you
could be a movie.
You-
Just
you
sounds
think
like somebody.
You don't think it's a movie? Okay, fair enough. And let's see, Sandy?
Holly Nay too.
So you all say no?
I'd pass because it might be a movie.
You're all wrong. It is actually a movie.
Jesus.
Number 3, Captain Christmas. DK?
I'm going to say Holly Nay. One of them's got to be right, surely.
Okay, so you're saying no. Adrienne?
No, too obvious.
Okay, and Sandy?
I'm gonna be the outlier and say yes.
Sandy, you're the only one that doesn't get a point. It's Captain Christmas. It's not a Hallmark movie, although it is an incredibly racist 9-minute short film, which I do not recommend you going to look up.
Oh,
Because-
no.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's not good. It's the spirit of Christmas taking on all the other various religions, and it gets very weird.
Oh,
Anyway,
no.
number 4, Christmas at Dollywood. DK.
Holly Yay.
Okay. Adrienne?
Yes, that's a movie.
Okay. And Sandy?
Yes.
And you all get a point, of course. Christmas at Dollywood is a movie. How would I have come up with that out of nowhere?
She loves Christmas. I love her.
Just checking the points here. There we go. Tallying that up. Number 5, Away in a Manager. DK.
I'm going to say Holly Yay.
Okay, you're saying yes. Adrienne?
I don't think so.
You're saying no.
No.
And Sandy?
No.
DK, you are wrong. Away in a Manager is, of course, something I just completely made up.
Oh, that would have been a perfect title for a Hallmark.
I did actually get it from an article of like humorous possible Hallmark movies that would recommend out the synopsis and what it could be, which I, if you get a chance to Google it, I can't remember where I found it, but it was like, yeah, I'm going to put that on because it could be. Number 6, Bone Alone. DK.
What's it called?
Bone Alone.
Oh my God.
Is this Hallmark or porn movies? Oh God! Against my better judgment, I'm going to say yay.
You're going to say yes, okay, Adrienne?
Well, if TK says yes, then maybe it's a movie.
Okay, so you're saying yes, and Sandy?
I'm saying yes too because I'm imagining this with a dog.
Yeah, you all get points. That is basically just Home Alone with a dog, and yes, I do own it, and I was given it by my sister one Christmas. Ah, dear. Maybe I'll take a picture of it and show you guys. It just,
I think you should.
I sometimes can't believe it's real either, but yeah, Home Alone with a dog. Anyway, number 7, Christmas at Graceland. DK.
Holly, nay.
Saying no, okay. Adrienne?
Graceland? Yeah, I mean, it probably like a TV movie because
Well, that's what Hallmark movies are.
yeah, I mean, I'd say there's probably that because
Okay.
Graceland is popular for all that stuff. So I'd say
Okay, so
there's a
you're
movie
saying-
of it.
You're
I think
saying
there's
yes, DK
yeah,
says
there's
no.
probably a movie of that.
And Sandy?
I'm going to say no.
Adrienne, the only one to get points there is actually a Christmas at Graceland.
Oh,
Yes, weirdly enough, there's a Christmas at Dollywood and a Christmas at Graceland. They both exist, believe it or not. Number 8, Super Best Friends. DK.
Holly, nay.
Okay, Adrienne?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
Well,
And
all right,
Sandy?
A holiday Christmas movie? Super Best Friends?
Yeah?
Maybe.
Well,
No.
decide.
I'll say yes.
You're going to say, oh, okay, you're saying yes. So
yeah,
that's 1 0
I'll
1
say
yes.
yes.
Sandy?
I'm going to say yes.
DK, the only one to get points there. That's not a Hallmark movie. That is the episode of
geez.
South Park where all the religious figures team up. Ah, dear. Finally. Oh, no, not finally. We've got 2 more. Number 9, Santa Fake. DK.
What was that? Santa what?
Santa Fake.
Santa fake.
Is it fake or is it real?
I'll say yes. It's.
Okay.
I'll say it's
Saying
a
yes.
proper one. Yeah.
Okay, Adrienne?
I'm with DK.
Okay, and Sandy?
I'm also saying yes.
Points for everyone. Santa Fake is, of course, a real movie. I
Santa
thought I might have
Fake.
tricked you all because it sounds like I've made it up because it just sounds like I've given you the word Santa and the word fake.
That's what
and
I
like,
thought
Yeah.
you were double bluffing.
0 effort into that title.
He
You're not
has
wrong.
it in his collection.
And finally, number 10, Baby, It's Mold Inside.
Oh, God.
DK.
That's got to be fake, surely. That's got to be just
Yeah.
bull.
Okay, Adrienne?
Yeah, no way is that a Hallmark movie unless they're making Jello molds, which they might be since it's Hallmark. Oh gosh,
Baby,
No.
It's Mold Inside.
no.
No?
Not a
And Sandy?
I'm going to say no too, but I'm not going to be surprised if we're wrong.
No, Baby It's Mold Outside is from that same parody article about what they could potentially do as Hallmark movies. And I do remember that one was they suggested that it was basically a woman's house is falling down with black mold and she hires somebody to repair it and falls in love with him and everything. And I was like, you know what? This doesn't sound that dissimilar to every other Hallmark movie. I won't lie. So,
Have either any of you guys seen the Shining parody poster that they've put out this Christmas?
No.
No.
No, I haven't seen it.
Mike, I'm sending it to you in case you get it and can put it
Okay.
up.
then at the end of the penultimate round, DK, you are in the lead still with 14 points. Sandy, you're not too far behind with 10 points. And Adrienne, you've well built your score up with 9 points, only 1 behind Sandy. So we have 10 questions in the final round, so it is still technically anybody's. The final round is a round that I call Everyone's a Critic. And in a format that I have shamelessly stolen from Mr. Sunday Movies, I have basically accumulated from Letterboxd a series of half-star, 1-star, and really low reviews. And I'm going to read out this terrible review and see if you guys can tell me what movie it's from. So again, It's probably not going to be super easy, but you can shout out your name if you think you know it at any point. If not, it's maybe worth a guess. Again, they're all Christmas movies. So, is that you all understanding the rules? You're all happy to carry on?
I got it.
Okay. So, this is a review by somebody called Vuk Jr. or Vuk Jr. They give this movie half a star and say, literally the worst movie I've ever seen. The ending is basically a ghost just telling him to stop being sad, and he stops being sad.
Adrienne?
Adrienne?
A Christmas Carol?
It's not a Christmas Carol.
Oh, okay.
DK?
DK?
It's a Wonderful Life?
It is. It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh.
They gave A Wonderful Life half a star? Jesus.
Half a star, and then reductive, ridiculous. I mean, come on. Yeah, some of these are just silly. It's more just to see what some people say for humor, to be honest, at this stage. Number 2, this is a review by Cagrion Fiar. They also give this movie half a star, and they say Santa Claus allegory, including a bourgeois Jesus bringing order to a feudal reactionary town with the blessings of a functioning market mixed with religious appropriations. The silence. Come on, just guess a Christmas movie. Nobody wants to embarrass themselves.
I have no idea.
No? Shall I reveal it?
Yes.
That was somebody's half-star review of the movie Klaus. And I believe Adrienne is going to be hunting that person down any minute.
Oh, my goodness.
Huh.
Yeah. Do not ask. Yeah, some of these are weird. Okay, we'll move on. Number 3 then. This is a review by Sarah McCann. They give this film half a star and say, this movie has 2 plots. 1, horror movie, except you are not rooting for the protagonist. 2, childish gags that are extremely unfunny. Call me a Grinch, but this is my second least favorite Christmas movie of all time.
DK?
DK?
Home Alone?
It is Home Alone, absolutely.
Horror.
Sarah, I have to say, Sarah, what were you watching? Anyway. Number 4, a review by Maria. They give this 1.5 stars and say, the best part is when Neil tells Charlie he's going to make a great psychiatrist someday, and Charlie is like, nah, I think I'm going to go into the family business, implying he's going to kill his dad someday to become Santa. How I love some Christmas family-friendly entertainment.
Sandy.
Sandy?
The Santa Claus?
It is the Santa Claus, yeah. I just found that one amusing. And true, weirdly. This is a review by Hamburgesser. They give this film half a star and say, watched during maths class, the terrorism, consumerism, and capitalism was crazy. That's
Adrienne.
It. Adrienne?
Is it Scrooged?
It's not Scrooge.
DK?
DK?
Not Die Hard again, is it?
It's not Die Hard, no, sorry. Sandy, do you want to have a guess?
Jingle All the Way.
It was Jingle All the Way. Well done.
Ooh.
You said that like you weren't expecting it to be the right answer,
I
but it was.
wasn't.
This is a review by Paige, who gives this movie half a star and says, if I have to hear one more white man in his mid to late 30s say that this is his favorite Christmas movie, I will commit a felony.
DK?
DK?
This is Die Hard.
That is Die Hard, absolutely. This is a review by Really Useful, a half-star review that simply says, why are his fingers so long? Nobody?
Sandy.
Sandy?
Scrooged.
It's not Scrooged. No. What would it be referring to in Scrooged?
The Ghost of Christmas Future with that big hand with the long fingers.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But no, why are his fingers so long? Six
Maybe-
word review, half a star.
Maybe it's
Adrienne?
Home Alone 2.
It is not Home Alone 2. DK, any guesses?
Is it The Grinch?
It is The Grinch.
Holy shit.
Specifically the Ron Howard one, but I'll give you the point because come on. This is a review by Kate is Moon. They give this half a star and say, this expletive got me feeling like I'm dying right on the spot with that choir music in the background. Should be a bloomin' horror movie.
DK?
DK?
Polar Express?
No, but you're not a million miles away. Ladies, either one? No? That was The Snowman, the classic British one that we all watch and adore, and I do not again understand what Kate is Moon is talking about. This is an anonymous review. They give this movie 2 stars and say, Goodfellas, if Goodfellas were a Christmas panto.
DK?
DK?
That's not my review of House of Gucci, is it?
That is entirely your review of House of Gucci. Yeah. I just wanted to see if you remember it.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
You mentioned
that's so
Christmas
funny.
Man too. I had to do it. I was like, I wonder if you'll
I
remember
thought
this
it
bit.
sounded familiar.
Oh my
And
God.
finally, last one, and last for this round and for the quiz. This is a review by Carlo, who doesn't give a score, simply a heart or like, and says, if there's one thing you can count on, it's the fact that every movie that people say is bad because of MST3K is actually good.
DK.
DK?
Is this Santa Claus Conquers the Martians?
It is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
What?
If anybody was going to get that, it was going to be you, DK, to be fair.
I was actually
So-
having fond memories of that movie earlier today.
So that concludes the quiz. So drum roll. Ooh, we're going to go in reverse order. In third place with 9 points, Adrienne. Just a very good score, though. Very reputable.
You get
I
a
would say.
towel.
You get a towel. Also getting a towel in second place with 12 points, Sandy. But running away with the top of the range VCR with 25 points, DK, our Christmas champion. Well done.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well done.
When do I
to
get
you.
my copy of Bone Alone?
Oh.
Do not tempt me. If you live closer, I would just mail you a copy. You can get it at any store around here for about £2. It's not hard to find. So, yeah, with that out of the way, then we're going to we'll cross over to the usual silver screen business and to the Scrooged review. So, before we get into any of that, we've got one last seasonal look behind the scenes of the movie in question, and that is always the purview of the ghost of DK. I shouldn't have said that. It sounds like I've killed you or something, but yeah. The ghost of behind the scenes past, maybe, DK. Over to you for the BTS.
Cheers, mate. Now, this was Bill Murray's first starring role since Ghostbusters in 1984. He had been living in Paris and was at this point seriously considering giving up acting altogether. In fact, Murray turned down the lead roles in Rain Man, Big and Cocktail to make this film. Now, filming took place in December 1987. With Christmas approaching, director Richard Donner asked if the production could have Christmas Day off. But Paramount Picture executives, as executives I want to do, refused, insisting that filming should continue over Christmas Day. So at the end of the day, on December 24th, Donner fired the entire cast and crew. 2 days later, on December 26th, he rehired everyone. That break allowed the cast and crew members to spend Christmas with their families.
I love that. I've read that story and I love that. It
Yeah.
just makes me love Richard Donner even more. I'd hate
He really
Paramount
does
even
feel
more than
like yeah, he really does embody the spirit of Christmas in this. Frank's brother, James, is played by Bill Murray's younger brother, John. His father is played by Bill's older brother, Brian Doyle Murray. And if you also look closely, you can see Bill Murray's other brother, Joel, in the party scene. When Frank throws water on a waiter he thought was on fire, he apologises and claims he thought the waiter was Richard Pryor. This is a reference to the time Richard Pryor, while doing drugs, set himself on fire and ran down a busy street in LA. So that explains that one. Now, falling on his way out of the restaurant was unscripted and a genuine accident, as evidenced by the reaction of the actor playing the waiter and Murray's feet as he falls. Apparently it was due to the stairs still being wet after splashing the waiter with water that caused Murray to lose his footing. Now, in that similar vein, when Frank is startled by an actor who he thinks is the ghost of Christmas future, he elbows his secretary Grace in the face. That was also real. Bill Murray really did hit Alfred Woodard by mistake in the face. And again, on that in that vein, when the ghost of Christmas Present grabs Bill Murray's lip, she tore it so badly that filming was halted for several days. It was so bad that Kane would get upset at having to rough up Bill Murray in their scenes together. Now, despite Donner's magnanimity regarding Christmas holidays, Bill Murray and the director reportedly did not enjoy working together, creating a lot of tension on set. When asked by film critic Roger Ebert if he had any disagreements with Donner, Murray replied, "Only a few, every single minute of the day." That could have been a really, really, really great movie. The script was so good there's maybe one take in the final cut movie that is mine. He made it so fast. It was like doing a movie live. He kept telling me to do things louder, louder, louder. I think he was deaf. Anyway, Paramount announced a special edition release titled the You'll Love It Edition, which was supposedly going to be released October 31st, 2006. However, for unknown reasons, it was recalled. And finally, Preston tells Frank that in America there are 27 million cats and 48 million dogs, and then says quite seriously that IBC needs to start giving programming towards them. As of 2015, which is the point where I got this from, there are several dog and cat specific channels on Roku that supply dedicated pet programming based on scientific studies of what interests them.
Wow, life really is stranger than fiction sometimes, isn't it?
It is.
Awesome. Fantastic. And is that all you have for the BTS?
It is, mate.
Great. Well, we'll jump into the rest of the review then in that case. And okay, so we're just going to break this down the same way we do any other movie review then. As I said, we're reviewing the movie Scrooged, which we now comes from 1988. And we'll break it down into little sections just to help guide us, like writing and plot, direction, acting, VFX, music and sound. But again, if you've been listening for the last sort of few episodes, you know that we don't stick rigidly to that. It's just really a guideline to help guide us through the review. And if the conversation goes one way or a different way, we just follow the flow. So with that in mind, let me just start by throwing it open the way that I usually do before we get into any of these categories and saying, what are your first memories of watching the movie Scrooged? Can you remember the first time you saw it and the kind of effect it had on you the first time you watched it? And we'll stick with the order we went with on the quiz and come to you first, DK.
I think I saw it for the first time on TV. It had been, I think it was maybe ITV. Back when we had 3, maybe 4 channels, if we were, lucky at that point. Oh no, Channel 4. So yeah, definitely 4 channels. Yeah, and it was ridiculously overhyped. So I remember not liking it at all when I first saw it.
Oh, who overhyped it?
Pretty much everybody I knew.
Okay.
Anybody that I went to school with, anybody that I went to college with, they all said, "Oh, this is a fantastic movie," and I watched it, and yeah, it was okay, but I didn't see the hype for it, and then I watched it again and again and again, and it grew on me. I went out and bought the damn soundtrack and everything. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Awesome. You're a sucker for buying soundtracks, aren't you?
I am a bit of a soundtrack whore. It has to be said.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. Absolutely. So, Adrienne, can you remember the first time you saw Scrooged?
Yes, somebody brought a VHS cassette tape of this to work when there was, and
very on brand.
I guess it was playing somehow in the background, and I just remember glancing over and seeing scenes from it. So that's the first time I saw it.
And have you seen it all the way through now? I presume as a
Yes, I have.
Awesome. Can't wait to get everyone's opinion on it. But Sandy, what about you? Can you recall the first time you saw it?
I don't actually remember the very first time I saw it, but it was way back then. Like I had mentioned before, SNL, anything or any of the actors was always a staple in our house. But I do remember that the effect it had on me, that it was the first thing I saw that was a Christmas Carol that wasn't a Christmas Carol. And ever since then, it actually fostered my obsession with watching anything even loosely based on a Christmas Carol. I'm just obsessed with it.
Sandy, have you watched the Doctor Who Christmas special entitled A Christmas Carol?
If it's a recent one, no, probably not.
No, it's not that recent. I think it's from 2011.
Then I probably have watched it. Yeah, because I've probably through like 2015, I've watched everything. So I probably have watched it.
Cool. Just because it's an adaptation of A Christmas Carol. So I thought, if you haven't, it would be a good thing to jump on, because I don't think it relies too much on knowing the show or anything. So yeah, recommendation for everyone out there if you wanted to just watch it.
That's been the best Christmas one so far.
I love Last Christmas personally. I don't know why, but yeah.
Yeah, but this one has flying sharks in it, dude.
And the late great Michael Gambon giving a heck of a performance. So yeah. Exactly. Anyway, that's off topic. yeah, fair enough. So you were watching different versions, and so we've all basically seen this, presumably a while ago. It's been out since the late 80s. My story with this is a little weirder. It's one of those films that I really would love to fire whoever was in the marketing department of it, because I used to always see it at the video store when I was like super young. And I was convinced it was a horror movie because it was always that poster or that video cover, which is like the skeleton hand lighting his cigar or something. And I just thought it looked way too creepy and was just like, ooh, is that like a horror take on thing? I don't want to watch that. That's no good for me, because I was a wuss when I was younger. Anyway, and then like you, DK, when you get to a certain age, I think that was around middle school, everybody was like, oh, that's the best Christmas movie because it's a little bit subversive and a little bit more grown up and stuff. So I would hear that about it from people, and it piqued my interest. And then I think it was when I started sort of becoming more aware of film and becoming more of a film nerd, and I learned that it was directed by Richard Donner, who is one of my favorite directors because he directed Superman the movie, which, you know, I mean, he's got a fantastic career. It also includes like Lethal Weapon and The Goonies and stuff, but all I need to know is that he directed Superman the movie. So when I found that out, I was like, oh, a Richard Donner movie. Now I'm interested. So, and that was the first time I saw it. Would have been in my late teens, I think, as I was kind of getting into these things. So I was probably later to it than most of you. Saw it and absolutely loved it. Loved, as you said, the take on A Christmas Carol. Loved the humor of it, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. Even though I should have, you know, from the cast, but I'm British. I had no idea who, other than Bill Murray, any of these people were. This was actually my introduction, DK, to Carol Kane. It was the first thing I'd ever seen her in.
Do you know, I think it was with me. I didn't see Transylvania 6-5000 until years later. So yeah,
I've still never seen that.
Oh, you've got to see that, man. It's Carol Kane turned up to 11.
I'll look it up. No, I hadn't seen Princess Bride or any of these things. And yeah, this was years before she joined Star Trek, which again, tangent, don't want to go there. But yeah, so, and I didn't know who any of these other guys were. Like I said, the Ghost of Christmas Past, whose name I know it's David something, but it always escapes me. And yeah, these various, it sounds weird probably to an American audience, but it's still a mystery to me who Bobcat Goldthwait is and why he was famous.
What?
Like, he never made it over here, really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's famous to you guys from looking it up now and stuff, and I'm just kind of like, oh.
But surely you've seen Police Academy.
Yeah. That's the first time I saw him in Police Academy 2.
I have seen the Police Academy movies, but there were movies that didn't really appeal, so they were just kind of on in the background making noise, sometimes literally.
That's pretty much they are when they're not in the background and you're watching them.
Exactly, yeah. That's the thing. I only really remember Michael Winslow and Kim Cattrall from those movies, and that's about it. But anyway, and Steve Guttenberg, I suppose, you know, give him credit where it's due. But no, okay, anyway. So in that case, we'll jump on to the writing and the plot. And the first thing is already out the way because, of course, it's basically just an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, which is no secret. I mean, the movie itself very much lampshades the fact that it is just an adaptation of that, which I think helps you to not feel quite so cynical and jaded about that fact, hopefully. So as an adaptation of that story, how do you guys think it does, pulling it into modern times and adapting it for perhaps a more 80s audience? I'm going to switch it up. I'll come to you first, Sandy, I think, for this question.
I thought the writing was pretty good, how they adapted it, just in how, hateful they made the main character in their way. He was a different kind of Scrooge. And some of the little B plots, like with Bobcat Goldthwait, Mr. Loudermilk, kind of descending through the city. That was kind of clever. And then just a lot of the jokes I thought were really, really funny. Just like when he's walking by that Picasso type painting and he's taken aback. He references his mother, that's a painting of his mother. Just the funny gags. So I thought the writing was good. I forgot the second metric we were discussing.
No, just really, what was it as an adaptation of A Christmas Carol? What did you think of it? And did you think it was kind of, the way that it was suited for the 80s? And I suppose I didn't really say this the first time, but to an extent, do you think that means that it's dated a lot more now that we are, 30-ish years removed almost from
and
it?
It is a bit dated because some of those things are so very specific. I had to explain to my daughter how Mary Lou Retton was our Simone Biles.
Yeah.
She didn't have, a lot of the jokes just went over her head.
Yeah, and I said the same to you. Like a lot of the cameo sort of things, I really like some of them. Some of them mean absolutely nothing to me. Like I adore Lee Majors, and that one gets me every time. And I'm like, I know who the $6 Million Man is. I'm fine with that. But then when it's going through all of the people that are in their version of Scrooge, and I'm like, no idea who that is. No idea who that is. Don't know who that
Jamie
is.
Farr is?
I don't have a clue. No, sorry. Should I?
He was Klinger in MASH, and you've seen Cannonball Run.
I've never seen MASH or Cannonball Run, I'm afraid.
Whoa.
Oh, jeez, man.
Love Jamie Farr. I love MASH.
What about Buddy Hackett? You've seen Mad World, haven't you?
Nope.
Ooh, that's a good one, too, yeah.
What about Herbie Rides Again? Come on, dude.
Yeah, I probably have seen that. My grandparents probably would have shown me that at some point, but I don't think I would have known. Oh, I tell you what, Buddy Hackett, the name's familiar. Did he voice the seagull in The Little Mermaid?
Yeah,
now I've got to look this up.
Yeah, I think he did.
I think he did, and I think that's where I know the
did.
name from. So yeah, probably I do know him in that case. DK, if this is news to you, then I've actually given you a fact that I'm quite proud of myself.
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking it up.
Oh, you look it up. I'm 99% certain I'm right on this one.
It is. It's Skull.
Yeah, thought so. Better job than Aquafina, anyway. Let's put it that way. Excuse me. But no, that's cool. And no, but I mean, a lot of them are probably more American famous than English famous, and I think that ties into the idea that this is very much, for me, it's 80s in the regard that it's a Christmas Carol, but specifically targeted at like corporations and consumerism and the increasing, influence of the media in a slightly, slightly pre-Fox News kind of world. It almost predicts, the dangerous decline that the media would take in the next few decades.
It is to me relevant.
Yeah, very prescient. So it is to me a very American-focused kind of film. Not to say it isn't, it doesn't have themes that aren't timeless, and it's not like enjoyable for everyone. But for me, I think that gives it a very American sheen to the overall thing for me. Would you guys say the same, or? Well, obviously, you guys who are American probably would, the two ladies, but yeah. What about you then, DK?
Yeah, I agree with that. Although, interesting aside, it wasn't supposed to be Lee Majors in that opening promo. He did actually approach Chuck Norris.
Oh, yeah, I read that somewhere,
yeah. He was filming something, so he couldn't do it. So,
yeah.
But the IBC promos, especially Frank's, redone Scrooge promo. I just think it's so much like modern TV these days, which their first intent is to scare the bejesus out of you, so you can pretty much stick to what they say, follow their own narrative, and
it's like clickbait.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. But I didn't note down, but yeah, that's actually hit the nail completely on the head. It's the first instance of trying clickbait completely.
Yeah, and back then, it was a parody. Now it's pretty much the way.
Now I'm sure I actually did see a Fox News advert that was just this: international terrorism, freeway killers, other religions and races. Boo!
Yeah.
I would say we've lost any of our right-wing audience members, but as if we have any.
I think that ship sailed quite a while ago, mate.
That woke review channel, anyway. But no, it's just whatever you think. I mean, you can't deny that there's an increase in propaganda on TV these days that there kind of wasn't as obviously in the 80s. As I think it's weird to say that it was kind of the birth of TV as a huge thing, but I think it was, even though TV was invented in like the 50s or whatever, because I don't think it's until the 80s that you get to the point where there's literally a TV in every home. And again, I think that's one of the things that this is commenting on. That it's in everybody's home, and it's a dangerous thing if misused, perhaps.
Well, the 80s were when MTV debuted, and it became an even bigger thing at that point. That's my view, anyway.
Not that it's necessarily relevant on a sort of a specific level, but it's also, as you probably know, DK, it's the kind of the age of the video nasties and all the films that got banned in this country. That we were, our fragile little minds were not able to watch things like Evil Dead and stuff because they were just fully banned as like, no, there's no merit to this. It's just a video nasty and will cause you to be a violent criminal or whatever. So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what about you, Adrienne? We haven't heard from you. How do you feel as this kind of adaptation of A Christmas Carol? What do you think works and doesn't, maybe?
Well, I like how they used actual lines from the original Dickens tale. I loved it when they had those lines. I don't like the workplace violence. I don't like the sexualization of it. However, I know that it was supposed to be a kind of raunchy, kind of shocking.
I think it gets away with it by saying it's a parody, but again, there is a little bit of like protesting you're a parody to get away with it, which I can see certainly where you're coming from is like, okay.
Yeah, but I still always watch it. I mean, I still really like the movie, but it's dated, and I know they wouldn't make it the same now. But there's so many good parts of it that you just kind of have to look at when it was made, who made it, what was happening in society at the time, and the fact that they wanted to be kind of risque.
Yeah. I will say, as much as I kind of detest some of the like sexism and stuff, I still burst out laughing possibly more than any other joke in the movie at see, you can barely see the nipples and these guys are really looking. It's just kind of like, right. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it always makes me laugh.
The funny part for me is that's the worst part of the movie for me. Isn't that funny? Like I can't abide it. I don't know.
I have far worse. My least favorite part, if I'm looking for it, is that I think to kind of leapfrog off Sandy's point, I think they do make Frank a little bit too unlikable in a way that Ebenezer Scrooge kind of wasn't. So when he's like gloating about the death of the old lady, is like, this is fantastic, let's run it all the time. And I'm like, ooh, that's a step too far. Come on.
Right. Yeah. There were lots of things that went too far for me. But now it's not back then, probably when it would have first come out. I was much younger, but now I'm older and wiser, and there's a lot of things that bug me. But I still love it.
Okay. Well,
I love some of the subtle things they do to make him extra terrible. Like, I think it's very subtle, but I think it's very intentional when he's walking into the building after he gets his award and he puts his hands flat on the glass, leaving his fingerprints all over the glass.
Of course.
Yeah, and even just the moment where the camera tracks and shows you that he's just left the award in the cab, just doesn't care. Mm-hmm. Not interested. Yeah.
Angry narcissist.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. But I mean, it does, it does kind of try to, I don't want to say justify, but explain that in exactly the same way as the original story by saying that it was because he grew up where Christmas wasn't a sort of a happy time, and then he got with the love of his life almost and lost her at Christmas time as well. And I really like how cleverly that Dickens plot line is adapted for this modern time, and the way it feeds into his like want to ascend the media corporate ladder, I guess, as opposed to like with Scrooge it was business and money lending and whatnot, and with this guy it's like, I can't go the president of the network's here and I've got to do this demeaning mascot dog job thing to get on TV. And it's like, oh, okay, I like how you've adapted that into this version, because again it obviously it wouldn't have worked for multiple reasons to just straight up do the I want to be a money lender kind of thing in the 80s. Not that there weren't any around, but I don't think it would have been as kind of accepted. So yeah. Any other thoughts about that from any of you?
I did also actually like how they worked Tiny Tim into the story.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I remember thinking the first time I saw this, and sometimes even since, when it first happens, I'm kind of like, well, this is just a clear Tiny Tim stand-in, and they're not even. But by the end of the film, when you actually care enough about the kid, that when he actually does say that line, it warms my heart so much. Even though it's just like it should be groan-inducing, but for whatever reason, it's just at such a point in the film that you're like, oh yay, he spoke. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, yeah. He hears those words at two important parts of the movie. He hears them at the beginning, when his family is having a happy moment and they're wrestling on the floor. He looks at the TV, Calvin, and he hears that and he nods along with the Tiny Tim from the 1950s version, I guess. And then after Mary Lou Retton does her flip, he's looking right at her when she says, God bless us, everyone. He's looking right at her and his eyes get big, like, ooh.
That one I noticed. I didn't notice the first one, I won't lie, but I definitely noticed I always just assumed it was the sort of he sees Mary Lou Retton's version of Tiny Tim say it. So no, it's as you say, it sets it up so it doesn't come from nowhere as well, which is a clever, it works out something that you're very familiar with into something newer and more appropriate. So that's cool. Let's see. I've got loads of notes and they're all a bit all over the place, but I'll just jump into asking. So obviously, being a version of A Christmas Carol, we kind of have to talk about the 4 ghosts. Yes, there are 4 because there's always a Marley that announces the ghosts coming. So how do you think this film handled those in particular? DK, I want to hear from you first on this one. I don't know why.
I really like the way that they incorporate the ghosts into this one. And I do like John Forsyth as the Marley character. Is it?
As Lou, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's done really well. And it's really weird because growing up, the only character that I ever associated Forsyth with was the dude from Dynasty, I believe it was. So it was a kick to see him in an actual film and think, he's an actual actor. He's not just some soap opera douche, you know?
I have that exact thing in my notes. I'm like, I've only ever seen him being all Carradine or something, right? Fancy or something, like in charge and always so powerful. And for him to get this opportunity to play this character that is ugly and falling apart and there's a mouse coming out of his head, it's just so good.
Yeah.
I feel like he really ate it up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good scene.
Yeah.
And I know Carol Kane gets, all the praise, and obviously she should because she's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
But I do I forget his name. I am so sorry, even though I've got a picture of him as my avatar. I do
David something. I'm going to look it up because it bugs. I always
David Johansen. David Johansen, right?
How do we forget Johansen?
From that singer from the New York Dolls, yeah.
I love that character. I think he's really good. That bit where they're watching the kids' TV show recording and he's shouting out, "It's a bone!" I just think I love it. I just love that character.
I have to say that's actually, to me as well, a genius bit of casting because he has such a unique look without wanting to border on the kind of offensive. He looks, I don't know, there's something about him that looks almost otherworldly. So casting him as a ghost, you can see that they've given him like minimal makeup or not done anything particular because he's got like the presence that is some kind of weird, not quite the average or whatever you want to say.
He's got quite a set of choppers.
Yeah, and he's got like almost a gaunt look, but not like as if he's unhealthy. It's just like his bone structure, I guess, is not that it's unattractive or anything. It's just very like, okay, that was for me. I can see why you've cast this guy and why you've done this. And
don't they give him pointed ears too, kind of elongating him?
Yeah. True.
And I also kind of like the way that they turned it on its head because in most adaptations of the Christmas Carol, the Ghost of Christmas Past is played by a female actor. The Christmas Present, as in the version with Woodward and stuff like that, it's a male actor.
Just say them up. But that's the only thing we remember.
Yeah, I do love how they switch that around. And I know it's not really an acting thing; it's more of an effects thing. But when it came to the Ghost of Christmas Future, I loved the imagery on the screen that they use for its face.
Oh, yes. I've made a point of that when we do talk about the effects. I love that scene. And I love that Donna uses it, or whoever, maybe it's in the script, that they use it as a throwaway. That's not even the moment that he actually, that he goes to the future and it actually gets him. It's like, you're distracted because that's when Elliot bursts in and it's not even, the ghost, he doesn't even see it happen. It's just for the audience. I love that scene.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just go over from you there. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into that a little bit later, or we can talk about it now. I love all of the effects on the ghosts. I mean, as you say, there's minimal on David Johansen and Carol Kane. It's kind of just powdered, white faces, or like you said, a little pointy ears and little bits and pieces, but there's very few. But as you said, the prosthetics that they use and the effects that they use for Lou, I've always been astounded by it. It is just a fantastic, and I feel for John Forsyth because that must have been a nightmare to wear, especially if you're not really used to that kind of acting. That's got to have been. I mean, come on, it looks uncomfortable. Yeah.
When he talks, though, he doesn't speak stiffly. I really would like to know more about how they did do that.
I think, that's kind of a choice because, like I said, I think that there's a lot of times that this movie is a little bit too close to the bone. And that's one of them would have been like if that character was portrayed more kind of zombie-like or more ghost-like or whatever. it would have been a little bit too frightening or a little bit too bizarre. But the fact that it is just, it's a stereotypical corporate yuppie who just happens to look like that and sounds exactly like he would otherwise, even down to the whole, he died playing golf and stuff like that, It's, but that scene where he's holding Frank over the city and his arm is gradually crumbling is one of the best scenes. I think it's amazing. Again, just the direction in that scene is breathtaking for me.
Wasn't it nominated for best makeup?
Was it? I would not be surprised. Probably.
I think it was. I read a whole bunch about the movie, and I just feel like I remember that it was nominated for best makeup.
I could believe it. I'll have a quick
Makes
look.
sense,
Like
yeah.
I
think
best makeup and hairstyling.
Oh, again, figures. Okay. Cool.
It was the wig that he wore.
It lost to Beetlejuice, apparently.
Oh, that's fair, to be honest, isn't it, really? Some of the effects in that movie are pretty incredible when they're stretching their face and stuff. Again, off topic. But, And to that, I know it's off, it's off where we went, but we're going on the tangent of talking about this thing now, kind of makeup and prosthetics and things. It's amazing how, with so little, they completely transform Karen Allen in that, vision of her in the future when she's
I hate that scene.
So do I. It's so because that's just not her. They turn her into mean a Cruella de Vil.
Exactly. It's so against type. They could have done without that scene. I think there is nothing on earth, let alone Frank's death, that would turn her that way. I just think that's in. It just reminds me of a bloody Eurythmics music video for no reason whatsoever.
There's a band called the Bloody Eurythmics. Wow, cool.
Well, just the Eurythmics. Controversially, I really like that scene because I always
that scene.
Yeah, I don't read it that way at all. And it's not about Frank's death. It's about because he didn't have the influence or whatever, her life went downhill, and he basically prompted her, as she kind of says with the whole scrape him off thing. He put into her mind, instead of being good or whatever, this idea of things are crap, so just that you may as well lean into it, kind of thing.
I can't see that happening. I couldn't. I honestly just couldn't. I mean, when at the point in the movie where he actually says that to her, unless she's had one hell of a bad couple of years, I cannot see that turning someone into the character that the vision shows.
See, I don't necessarily read it as being a vision of this is an actual alternate timeline type future. I see it as this is the kind of thing your actions could do, and you saying that to someone else or in another circumstance could lead to this, because it was showing him. It's all about him, basically. It's framed around him. So it's imagine if you say that and she took you at your word and then became this kind of thing, as opposed to she was heading down this path and you pushed her or whatever. But again, I suppose you could read it 1,000 ways, but I just kind of like it in the regard that for him, he kind of sees his own cynicism and his own sort of sense of the world reflected back at him and doesn't like it. And there's no other scene that really does that for me, except maybe occasionally in the things with Lionel out of Smallville, where he doesn't like the yuppieism of him. But even then, it kind of doesn't play that for, I dislike this guy because he's me reflected. It's more just this guy's a jerk because he's he wants my job or whatever else. So anyway,
it goes back to what you guys were saying earlier about sometimes Bill Murray is a bit too unlikable, but in this, I think occasionally the film has too jaded a view, too cynical, and I think that's why I'm not necessarily totally on board with it sometimes. I think it does go a bit too far in, not just with Frank's character though, in those around him.
In what way? I'd love to hear examples if you can.
As I said, with that thing with Karen Allen, I think you could have done without that scene, and it would have still worked. I think, obviously, when you get to people like Loudermilk and stuff like that, you can understand the pressure he's under. But I think I lost my job, and but then they have to pour it on with his wife left me and took my little baby girl.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I don't like any of the Bob Quack Goldthwait runner. It's obviously there as a kind of comedy bit, but like Adrienne, it feeds into things that I don't like in the movie, the workplace violence, and like you said, the just sheer ridiculousness, because again, it's complaining about corporate culture and consumerism, and then it thinks that you can solve the problem of losing your wife and your kid by going, "Hey, I'm going to hire you back and give you a job in an office." And I'm like, "Huh, mixed messages a little bit."
Well, it's not just that they kind of play it. They play his whole situation for laughs, and I don't think that quite works.
No, and there's nothing funny about somebody coming and shooting up a workplace or whatever else, which again is probably the first thing I think that if you were remaking this film they would get rid of.
I think one of the underlying things, like Bobcat Goldthwait's whole shtick is going from calm to 11. And so they had to do that into the movie for him to do what it is he always does, which is the screaming thing.
There were other ways you could have done that, though. I mean, you could have even had him attack Frank in other ways than, coming in with a shotgun, blasting the office up, which just isn't. It's very uncomfortable. And I don't know. I mean, even if he sort of challenged him to a fist fight or whatever, because it's not like Frank is a particularly, a guy who could handle himself. So it's not like he would be, even if he was just like, "Oh, I'm challenging you to fisticuffs," I can still imagine this weaselly kind of Bill Murray character being like, "Oh no, I'm just going to run away," rather than try to fight you kind of thing. So, yeah. Anyway,
it's so weird because it didn't even knowing what we're dealing with today with the violence, it just didn't even trigger that in me at all. And probably because he's so inept with it.
Yeah.
It just didn't even it didn't even occur to me, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean it was a very different time, and it was the kind of time. I mean, it even does the thing in the movie where he does the Elmer Fudd impression. "I'm hunting rabbits with the shotgun," and yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to think we all grew up watching that on TV in kids' cartoons and thought nothing of it, and yet you look down, like, that's kind of horrifying, really, isn't it? I mean, yeah. Anyway, again, with a different discussion, perhaps for a different time, and again, it's perhaps more to do with culture around us feeding into our perceptions than the actual media itself. So it's not fair to judge it on that regard. But again, I don't think it would be in any remake. And again, I just wanted to say, do not remake this film. I read somewhere that they were going to remake it with Kevin Hart in the Bill Murray role. And no, just stop. Just do not. It's not going to work.
When a remake is touted, it's either Dwayne Johnson, Chris Pratt, or Kevin Hart. I don't get it.
No, yeah. To me, it wouldn't work. It's very specifically an attack on very 80s things that I don't know that you could update it because, well, you probably could, but not in a way that they'd be prepared to, because 90% of the people on like Twitter or whatever it's called this week would just accuse you of being woke or whatever and try to boycott your film. But anyway.
One thing I think they were trying to do with this movie is make it a very dark New York reality about how things are and what a little bit of kindness can bring. And then when they were doing those dark scenes, like with Calvin in the padded room, and
that was to me a bit too far, by the way, DK, when you're saying you didn't like the Karen Allen thing. Sorry to interrupt, Adrienne, but for me that was the one that went a bit too far, because it was just kind of like he's still just muted, nothing else has changed, and it's kind of borderline offensive that it's just like, well, chuck him in the loony bin then, and like, what?
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with, but it's weirdly enough, but bringing the kid up, going back where his relatives are using him as a Christmas tree. Everybody comes across as a bit of a git in this.
Yeah, his siblings do, but I think that's kind of siblings.
Yeah. Well, I feel like what the directors or writers were. I know there was lots of changes. They had changed the script a million times, but what I feel like they were showing Frank was that love. Without love, these things could happen, and it could be your love that changes these people. Like Karen Allen, the scene where she's like Cruella DeVille, I saw it all those times on VHS, and I never saw the tear until I was just right now watching it like up close in the HD. And her acting, when she turns around and says, "Thanks a lot, Lumpy," and she turns her face back around, she has that smile, but she's crying.
I never noticed that.
Yes, it's great acting. She is just devastated.
Oh, she's a fantastic actress.
She is. She's great.
I lament every time we talk about one of her movies that I do not understand how she does not have a much better career.
Mm-hmm.
2 Indiana Jones movies and a bit, and this
Yeah.
that I've seen her in, and in every one of it, she knocks it completely out of the park. And I'm like,
Yeah,
how is
she
this
does.
woman not working all the time?
Mhm,
You know?
Right. Well, I feel like you know how Frank was walking in that hallway that's kind of tilted and skewed that messes up your
I love that.
senses. Yeah.
Surreal.
So and he that's where he sees Calvin, and he's walking back, and he's kind of like, he's starting to realize that he can change some of these things. That's when he says the thing about the pediatrician and all this stuff. I feel like the scenes were intentionally horrible that they would be in modern day. In the original, Tiny Tim dies, and can we say, what can we do to help? And it's all about what Frank can do. And I feel like he's saying, well, these are things I can change. And look what, how she became, and look how Tiny Tim or how Calvin is in this room, and like just soul wrenching things that Frank needs to see, because he's been so horrible. Basically, these are people.
That was kind of what I was saying to DK about that scene, is that I don't read it as literal, because it is so clearly like a fake nightmare, vision of the world. It's not supposed to be, and this is what will happen kind of thing. It's more like showing him a twisted nightmare of what he could affect and what could happen. But I always find it weird, and I'll bring this up now, that they don't do the thing that they do with Scrooge in the original story, whatever you want to call it, whereby he sees like how detested he became when he died. It's always kind of stuck out to me that his family are there and genuinely mourning him at his funeral, and instead they have to play it as this nightmare of like he's getting burned alive kind of thing. I'm like, that was a weird choice, but I get it, because it kind of has to keep I can't remember his brother's name in reality or the film, but it has to keep them wholesome and have his brother still be like, no, whatever you say, he's always going to be welcome here and he'll be invited and whatever. Best brother in the world and all that. But it seems like a weird choice at that moment.
Also telling that it was only 2 people there. So it was really the only 2 people who cared about his passing.
Oh, that's a point that I hadn't considered, actually. Fair enough. Yeah, okay, true. Let's put that into context a little bit better for me, I suppose. But yeah, I never really liked that. I mean, I just don't like seeing scenes of people on fire, so I don't love that scene, because it's a little bit, again, too nightmarish. Or even
trapped.
It doesn't really relate to anything. It's not like your actions could change this, because it's not about anything other than let's have a scary moment. Yeah. They do the same earlier in the restaurant when he's seeing the weird visions before the first ghost comes as well, and there's like that clearly stunt man doing the kind of set on fire thing that I was like, did we need this? It's a little bit far, isn't it? But yeah, anyway.
I did like how they messed with him though, and made him look so crazy to everyone.
The little bits and pieces I think work really well. I think it works effectively enough, like seeing the eyeball as an ice cube or olive or whatever in the drink, and then just seeing the guy's arm maybe being on fire and everyone else just acting like, no, you don't want that.
That was definitely a better part. Are you him? Are you he?
Yeah, that was funny. I love that.
And
I don't know where from, but
that was a vision as well. I really don't think he said that.
Yeah. I don't know where I know him from, but I know I recognize that actor who plays the
so great.
Oh, right, from Bill and Ted. Okay. Yeah, I think as much as we've criticized it from going too far, sometimes I think there are moments as well, though, where it goes far, but you get away with it because it's funny. And in moments like the Christmas list, for example, when he's like, everybody, towel for all of these people, and then the president of the network, VCR, top of the range kind of thing. Or even like, it's so cruel and we shouldn't laugh at it, but I do find it kind of amusing when Grace is like, what about me? Oh, towel. What about my Christmas bonus? Oh, towel and a washcloth. It's kind of like, it's the nature of it. It's like, it makes you.
No shame in his cruelness.
And I do like her response. She just couldn't care less.
Oh, she gets angry, but she's saying it. She's not doing anything about it. She's just like, oh, and the next person on the list, and the next, and you can see she's annoyed, but she wouldn't say anything to her boss or whatever else. But
it's almost like she knows that he's still in there.
Yeah,
I guess I always saw it more as like she'd be terrified to lose a job, to be honest. But yeah.
because after that, when the boss does come in and she's she's still helpful to him. She's straightening out his jacket, making sure he looks good. Then when he's touting off all these numbers, we spent $4 billion on pet food, and he looks over her like, $4 billion, is that true? She's like, I don't know. Just their looks that they give each other, that they have a really good working relationship. It's like she almost doesn't believe that he is this callous or cruel, or maybe she knows why it's there, but she treats him far too well for how he is.
I think that's more just her as a character, to be honest, though, because she's clearly not. She's kind of almost got no flaws. Like, she's caring for her entire family, and even including Calvin, who has this issue where he can't or won't talk, and she's also caring for Frank. And she never really, like, even when it's completely ridiculous, like he's ripped apart this picture, and she's like, "I need to go. I've got a hospital appointment," and he's like, "No, you're staying late," and like she protests, but she still does it, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, she's putting up with way too much
infinite
crap
patience.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Bob Cratchit had that infinite patience.
True.
He had it. He took it, and that's just, I think, what they're doing with her, a modern version of it. But in the end, she sent the brother the VCR. Haha.
Yeah, I like that little bit of subversion. It was kind of cool. And I will say there were moments where, not that she kind of snaps or whatever, but there's moments where, again, it kind of makes me chuckle, even though it's a sad thing, like when they're saying, "Oh, Mum, when are we going to get a real Christmas tree?" When they free. It's just kind of like, yeah, we've all been there.
It's
but
funny.
Again, feel like, oh.
I kept getting reminded of Lily in First Contact when she
I
had
know, right?
Did you too? Yeah, I totally did. I'm like, oh, 8 years apart.
Like I said, watching this film, later on in life, because the first time I saw it, I wouldn't have known, or I wouldn't have had the context. But then when I went back and watched it recently-ish, a couple of years ago, for the first time in a while, I was like, it's mad. This has like Lily from First Contact, Lionel Luthor from Smallville. Obviously, you've got Bill Murray in there. Like, it's just a cast of absolute, and then Lee May just popping up for a cameo at the start. It's kind of like, this is so weird.
Yeah, anyway. Lots of, and I love all the cameos. Yeah, lots of stars.
Absolutely. So yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, the other thing I was going to ask about is, how do you guys feel about I feel bad bringing it up in case you're not a fan and feels like I'm kind of piling on the film, but how do you feel about this runner about the TV censor who basically just keeps on taking more and more physical abuse, which is a little
that
weird.
Actually just didn't work for me after the first initial bonk on the head, and then I understand, but yeah, the ongoing gag with it didn't work so much.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah. And I feel like the end part of her in the movie, she'd really, that character, or what, not the character herself, but what's done to that character by the end of the movie had really outstayed its welcome. And then, like I said, it gets really uncomfortable when it does that whole, like, oh, it's the woman that you wouldn't go with, but she's got you tied up, so she's going to, and it's like, I hate that trope in the 80s movies of like, oh, you can't avoid it because you're tied up and you can't stop her kind of thing. Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable for me.
You don't need that at all. It was just for the sexualization of the woman's nipples and everything else, and to have the gag of her getting hit, something dropped on her, and another thing rolled over her, or whatever. Come on. It's
just a bit too cruel. After, like Sandy says, the first kind of time, maybe like when she's been injured and then it comes back a second time and it's one callback, it's kind of like chuckle worthy. But then by the end of it, you're just like, this is too cruel. It's not funny anymore.
And I guess they were trying to make her character grow in some weird way, because at first she's all proper and then she says shit when something gets dropped on or she gets hit, and then she says it again and again, and then by the end she's this wild crazy lady and she's gonna go for her man, and it's just like, this is so awkward.
Yeah, definitely. DK, you have been very quiet. How do you feel about this?
It never really made an impact one way or the other. Yes, it's cruel, but I found that vibe running through this entire movie. That it can be needlessly cruel sometimes.
Yeah, and I don't think it's intentional. I think it's aiming for humor. And again, it probably would have been at the time. I mean, there's probably people even listening now that would be like, grow up or stop being such a prude or whatever else, because different sensitivities for different people. And yeah, like I said, sometimes even things that I find funny, Adrienne might not. Like I mentioned with the whole nipples gag, and it's like, it's personal taste with all comedy.
Yeah.
For me, it's the intention that matters, and I don't think it's intended to be cruel. I think it's intended to be funny.
Right, but it's
kinda,
intended to be funny for the guys, and they're all
Yeah.
staring. But and also, she's the only solid gold dancer of color. Why did they have her cast that she's showing part of her private areas?
So yeah, any other? I'm going to quickly skip ahead because we're taking far too long with this. Any other thoughts on the writing or whatever that I haven't touched upon?
Oh shit, we're still on the writing.
I know. Tell me about it. So yeah, no, I will say quickly, I love the fake out of the Ghost of Christmas Future as well. Always makes me laugh, and I think it's so clever that they've lampshaded that they are just adapting a Christmas Carol, so he thinks it's the Ghost of Christmas Future coming for him in reality, and it's actually the one from the play that he's putting on for TV, and it's just, it always makes me laugh. He's like down on his, oh my god, take us, and then the guy's like, oh, what's going on with this guy, Bryce? What's happening?
In the elevator,
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, moving quickly on, then we'll move to the direction. And so I don't have as many notes for this, but do you guys have any thoughts on like specific things that stand out for that?
Not really. I wonder. Yeah, I think all the good things that were happening in the background were good, because this movie did have a lot of background stuff, the parties in the background or the action on set in the background. Bill Murray, I think, was just very Bill Murray-ish, although I did wonder how many things were ad-libbed and if there was a lot of ad-libbing on this film.
Donna did observe, he says, you don't direct Billy, you pull him back.
Yeah, which
so
I can believe.
You give him a platform, make him as comfortable as possible, and he comes at you from every direction. And as much as I like Bill Murray, I do think he goes a little OTT for me on this one.
I agree. I think that, yeah. And I feel for Richard Donner, because, as I said, if you're trying to pull him back and he's going too far, it can't have been easy. And you have to eventually you're on a railroad heading towards that fantastic last scene, which, for me, that's what makes the movie. But you kind of have to keep the character intact enough to get him there, if you know what I mean. And I will say, though, that the improvisation, even though it doesn't work for us now, of Bill Murray improvising, talking to the people in the theater, like, let's hear from the men, let's hear from the women. Apparently that was his idea, and I kind of like it, but again, doesn't work when you're not watching it in a cinema. So it was a very specific moment that would have been relevant. And I kind of wish they'd done what they did on some other films like Gremlins 2 and stuff, and they'd adapted it for like home video into a new thing, like, oh, do you enjoy the movie watching on the couch there or whatever, or something, because it just jars that it's not relevant to you. Anyway, again, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, any thoughts from you, DK, about the direction?
I mean, it's Donner. You know what you're going to get with Donner. Although for some reason, and I'd always got into my head until this viewing, that it was Ivan Reitman for some reason. I don't know where that came from, but yeah, there's some really good direction. I love that opening scene where they for the Night the Reindeer Died promo, when it comes in after the credits and you're flying over the North Pole.
Yeah, I've written down that's basically the Superman above the clouds.
It is, because it works, and if it's not broke, no need to fix it.
Yeah, I love that.
I do think there's some really good direction on this. As I'm not sure if it was Adrienne or Sandy earlier who mentioned the big hand of death coming out behind him.
Yeah, and I was going to shout out Adrienne that I know you specifically mentioned the scenes which I've written where everything goes Dutch angles and everything's a little bit off, and the hallways and everything are closing in, and it's fantastic the way that's quite surreal and cool.
Yeah, and there's lots of kind of unsteady cams, as it were, when he's freaking out, and then all of a sudden the camera is normal when he has come, like, trying to get his bearings again, and he realizes, okay, I have to act normal right now because I'm back on the set. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, kind of related to that, but a more subtle version because it's earlier in the film, the way that it gets, as we've already mentioned, the way it gets kind of trippy when he knows that the first ghost is due, and then you start seeing like the eyeball and the person on fire and everything gets really weird. I was like, this is actually really very, very well done, because again, it can't have been easy for the actors that have to keep a straight face and act like there's nothing happening. And yet that scene is fully believable, that they're all, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, go, and they're all just looking at him like, what? Or even like you said, the way that the waiter delivers the, no, am I he? Or whatever, What else was I going to say online then? I love the way that Lou enters the office by like an explosive blowing apart a wall, even though it's clearly just like 80s action movie stuff and has no purpose. It's just really cool to me. Again, I've mentioned I love the scene of being held out of the window. For me, I've always liked that scene. It works, and I feel genuinely terrified for a second there when he's hanging above the city and about to drop. Yeah, I think that's literally all I've got on the direction. So that was quick, a lot quicker than the writing anyway. So yeah, any thoughts from the rest of you guys about anything?
I'll just say I loved the transitions. Going from how he goes from unreality to reality, and how everybody plays along with him. And I think that one of the characters that is kind of unsung for this movie is John Glover playing Bryce. He's a good, kind man, and he actually cares about Frank. At first time I saw it, I thought, well, that guy's smarmy because he always plays a bad guy. But he really cares. Like, you can see him, like, he cares about the staff and he cares. And I really like that about him. I thought that helped.
I don't agree with you there. I don't think he does care about him. I think he is specifically the smarmy yuppie that's after his job. I don't think you can watch the scene where he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Frank, did you want to call her? Everybody come back. Frank wants to call you for lunch, and think that he cares about him. He's deliberately undermining him.
I think that he's actually kind of a nice, good person brought into this, but he knows that Frank is having a breakdown. And at that point, he's trying to bring him back to reality and saying, hey, is that really what you want to do? Yeah, that's how I kind of feel about him. I actually think he's a nice person in this film. Maybe I'm just twisted.
I feel like he's fully coded as a villain, because even at the end, like the really uncomfortable stuff I don't like is very much like the villain got his comeuppance, kind of thing. So I don't think he's coded as a good guy at all. I think he is specifically supposed to be the antagonist to Bill Murray's character. But again,
maybe
it depends how you read it, I guess. What about you two, DK and Sandy? How do you feel about that?
I'm a jaded misanthrope, so I see him as a villain.
Yeah, fair enough. Sandy, are you with us?
Yeah, I also thought he was a villain.
I think it just speaks to you as a person. You just so genuinely see the best in everyone.
Yeah, you see the good in everyone. The rest of us just think the entire human race apart.
But I feel like they did kind of give him, I've watched it enough recently that I think they did give him a little kindness. Like, he's kind to the staff, whereas Bill Murray's character is horrible. Like, I think maybe he doesn't care about Bill Murray as much, but I guess what I mean is he seems like he's more of a caring director than Bill Murray is able to do. Like, he cares about the folks. Like, he pats people on the back and he's trying to be kind. But
it's one of those things, I think, though, that the 80s was very cynical like that. So it's kind of like, ooh, this guy's a better boss than me, and I don't like it, because you have to be a bit, a bit of a hard ass at times, and this guy isn't, so he's clearly bad, kind of thing, which is completely wrong, and we don't look at it that way now, but I think at the time it was kind of like, or even maybe, like I said, he's just undermining. Yeah,
it was his way of undermining, is his way of getting everybody on board with him by being nicer to the crew.
Yeah, killing them with sarcastic kindness, maybe.
One more quick note I did have about the direction, actually. I kind of love, and again, I kind of have to credit Donna, the director, but the comedic timing idea of when Frank comes away from the nightmare cremation scene and just goes like, I'm alive, and the film sort of in the background, the music itself just goes hallelujah, which always makes me laugh. Like, it's completely non-diegetic, and it's kind of it's leaps onto you, but I'm just kind of like, that's funny. That is the director appreciating the level of humor and kind of like matching the tone for me, because again, that's not something Murray could have improvised or anybody else. That's pure Richard Donner, and I thought, like, genius, bravo.
Isn't that funny? I was thinking to myself, oh, that's pure Danny Elfman.
Oh, well, weird. Is it Danny Elfman that did the score? Because maybe so actually.
It is.
Okay, I should have known.
But there are certain bits of this, looking back at it with hindsight, and obviously, most of his work came after, but there are times on this, especially during the cremation and those Dutch angles, it does feel very Tim Burton.
Yeah, or just as you said, Ivan Reitman, even, like you said, because people have said they expected it to be a big hit because it's Bill Murray and ghosts. And one of the taglines for the film was Bill Murray's back around ghosts, but this time he's outnumbered 3-1 or whatever, They were really playing off the Ghostbusters thing. And even the effects, like I said, they weren't your typical gentle ghosty effects. They went for the full-on zombie Lou, and the horrible scene of the souls that the ghost of feature has inside of his cloak or whatever, the way that they're all screaming out. But again, the fact that it then undercuts that with them like doing a little dance at the end of the movie, which is so weird. But another scene we haven't touched on, just the horrible scene of like Herman having frozen to death. And again, a triumph for the effect, but it's horrible to watch.
It breaks my heart, that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely was one of the scenes that stuck with me too when I watched it when I was much younger.
Yeah, and I never noticed until this viewing that he stays dead. He's one of the ghosts at the end of the movie waving to him. And I'm like, wow, that is so ouch, man. Like, I figured when he turned himself around, he would have undone that. But no, he stays dead. I'm like, what? Okay. Never mind, I suppose. And so we basically are talking about it, and we've talked about it already. So anything else about the kind of visual effects or anything on that area?
Just that the Ghost of Christmas Future I thought it was really well thought and planned and executed, especially all the screaming spirits trapped in his belly.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does he have like... maybe this is related to the whole themes, but does he have like a TV screen for a face? It seems like
he does.
Yeah.
I love that.
They put Bill Murray's face in there for a couple of the shots, real fast. But I love I liked that character too, because in the funeral scene you see how huge he is. He towers over him, like when he's viewing when Frank is looking at his casket and you see him standing right next to him. It's just, he's humongous.
Well, I mean, the first time you see him, like you said, he's stretching from the bottom screen to the entire length of the wall of TV screens, and then a giant hand reaching toward him.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. No, that it for the VFX then?
I just think they're extremely competent and they still hold up.
Oh, I completely agree, yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely not one for kids because it goes there with the effects, and I certainly wouldn't recommend watching it until you're of a certain age, because like the Lou effect alone, I think, could be quite disturbing if you aren't into your horror films and stuff the way we are. But otherwise, I mean, the effect itself, as you mentioned, the way that it's, there's a mouse in the hole in his head and whatever, and he has no eyes when he takes off his sunglasses, and the whole thing, it looks like something out of a contemporary at the time Romero movie almost. It's fantastic. Yeah. Cool.
And they could have tried to use a bunch of special effects, but what I got at the feeling of that they were keeping it very much like the effects that they would make on that live studio. They kept them all very TV-ish.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything? I know we've touched on a lot of the actors already, but just quickly, I just want to jump on. And again, you've already mentioned it, but Carol Kane's performance, I think that's the comedy highlight of the movie for me. Even though it's not that kind of comedy that I normally like. I don't like Love Bottom, for example, for British viewers, because it is just like beating people up comedy. But for me, Carol Kane totally sells it, from the whole like ball breaker sweet thing at the start to trying to poke him in the eyes to hitting him with the toaster and everything. And it is purely her comedic timing and the kind of the way she delivers it, I think, that really makes it work. Would you guys say the same or not?
Yeah, she's actually my favorite ghost in this one.
Oh, yeah,
I love that scene where he's trying to climb through the window and she's dancing and just keeps hitting him with her wings.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Yeah. I think that's, as we've talked about everything else, so I don't want to repeat myself. It's but for the very first time this time, as he walks past the busking band at the very start of the film, that it is like all famous musicians. I spotted Paul Schaefer from
it's the Saturday Night Live band. Yeah.
Oh, Miles Davis is there.
Miles Davis.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Love that. How do you get that guy,
That is my favorite track on the soundtrack.
Aw.
Well, of course, that would make sense. And just quickly, the practical effect of the Ghost of Christmas Past blowing the smoke through his ears. Some people have complained about it. I kind of love it. I know, it doesn't actually go from the right place, and it's a bit above his ears, and it's obviously tubes and whatever, but it's just such a fun, funny, practical, non-CGI effect that I kind of like it anyway. And I think there was another one, but this is obviously a CGI or whatever you want to call it kind of effect. But I burst out laughing so much when the ghost walks through the door in the past, and then Frank follows him and just whacks on the door, and the ghost like faces back through and just laughs at him. I was like, yeah, again, it's cruel humor, but I just can't help but laugh anyway, Awesome. That's about it then. Unless you guys have anything on acting, VFX, anything else?
No, you've pretty much covered everything, mate.
We'll move on then to our favourite character, moment, and line in the film. And we'll start with you, Adrienne. Haha, you weren't expecting that, were you? So,
No, I was not. It's okay. So, my favorite character, I'm just going to say, is actually the on-screen chemistry between Bill Murray and Karen Allen. Like, I think thank goodness they had already known each other as actors and they were comfortable playing. I just thought that was great. And you said my favorite line?
No, just character first, and then we'll go around one step at a time.
Okay.
So, Sandy, who was your favorite character in the movie?
My favorite was Carol Kane in the Ghost of Christmas Present. She's just so bright and full of energy and so devilishly sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you stole mine for all the same reasons you said. She's also my favorite, and just because I love Carol Kane. I'm biased. So yeah, DK, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Claire.
I'm glad somebody did. She was my close second.
Yeah. Not only she's the kind of the moral compass in this, and someone I would aspire to be, but it's Karen Allen. She's got one of the most beautiful smiles in Hollywood, if not history.
Yes,
absolutely, and she's great. Like she's so believable in the scenes of like them as a couple. Her in the bath, or them opening their gifts and getting the Kama Sutra, or what was the other moment? Oh, the really cool line when she sees him for the first time in years, and he says, "Oh, same old Claire, still trying to save the world," and she replies to him, "And you're still trying to run it." I think is a really fantastic summation of those characters.
She's so good in it that you actually do, and to me, you don't get this in most adaptations, but you actually are shouting at the TV that he is an idiot for letting her go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again, it's funny how it kind of just echoes. It's the thing we should all know because it's just the Scrooge and Bell plot, to the point that it even literally intersperses the two in one of the scenes. Like it flashes from his past flashback to that actual scene being filmed for the musical that he's doing, or the live play. But it works because of the characters and because of the actors, I think. Anyway, what would be your favorite scene or moment in the movie? Sandy, haha, you weren't expecting that either way.
No, but I'm ready to go. My favorite scene is actually with the Ghost of Christmas Present, and when they're standing outside the window and watching Grace and her family. And I feel like that's maybe the first moment he mentions he didn't know that her husband had passed away, and then he's laughing, seeing them playing around and just making the best of their Christmas. And that's actually my favorite scene. I feel like it's so heartwarming, and I feel like his heart grows just a little bit in that moment.
His heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Yes.
Awesome. DK, what about you?
It's the part where Frank disrupts the live recording at the end, and that whole entire end speech. It just gets me every time.
I keep basically interrupting my own self because again you stole mine. So that was, I said sorry to be obvious, but it's the end. It's everything from that moment. So yeah. And Adrienne, what about you?
My favorite line or my favorite scene?
Moment or scene first, please.
Okay, my favorite scene is the transition, like you just mentioned it, from the taping the Frisbee show till where he had just broken up with Claire, and then the cab appears on the television and the TV screen becomes the live show where Belle is breaking up with Ebenezer. That's amazing to me.
It is. There's so many great scenes in the movie. I mean, they're all worthy. Absolutely. So what is your favorite line in the movie? DK, coming to you. Haha.
Oh, getting random with this. It's just an excerpt, but it's...
You won't be one of these bastards who says Christmas is once a year and it's a fraud. It's not. It can happen every day. You just gotta want that feeling. And if you like it and you want it, you'll get greedy for it. You'll want it every day of your life, and it can happen to you.
Awesome. Fantastic. Good choice. Sandy, what about you?
I like when he's on set and he tells everybody,
break a leg, everybody. I feel real weird about tonight.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Adrienne, what about you?
My favorite line is,
why didn't you stay with Claire? Why didn't you stay with Claire? She would have taken care of you. You would have eaten. You would have been warm. You might be alive. You'd be a prettier color, I'll tell you that.
I'm going to take the other bit then, DK, for my favorite line.
You have to do something. You have to take a chance. you do have to get involved. There are people that are having trouble making their miracle happen. There are people that don't have enough to eat. There are people that are cold. You can go out and say hello to these people. You can take an old blanket out of the closet and say, here, you can make them a sandwich and say, oh, by the way, here. I get it now. And if you give, then it can happen. Then the miracle can happen to you. It's not just the poor and the hungry. It's everybody who's got to have this miracle. And it can happen tonight for all of you. If you believe in this spirit thing, the miracle will happen, and then you'll want it to happen again tomorrow.
I mean, we could just literally put that in speech because it's just fantastic. And in fact, I did, but you did the other bit, so I was like, okay, I'll cut that bit out, and then I have less to say. Yeah, fair enough. So we're going to cross quickly over to our audience participation Ghost of Christmas Present Fairy Sandy for our audience response to this one. So without further ado, Sandra, do you have the audience reactions to Scrooge?
I do. From the Nerdy Up North community, Pete Thomas says, what a movie. Absolutely fab this is. Set me off now. I'm going to have to watch it again. Steve Jones says it was a great film. Jason St. Martin says, among many movies that Bill Murray has done, this is definitely up there with Groundhog Day or Caddyshack for sure. I'd say this modern version of A Christmas Carol was so good, it became as much of a classic as the original story. Not as long-standing, but that's the test of time. It might be very well known in 100 years. Kelly Ann Younghorn gave us a score we're going to have to factor in. She gave it 1 million stars.
We don't factor in the audience scores, thankfully, because I'm not doing that maths.
You can't. I can't do that math. Caroline Harrison says, this is our Christmas Eve tradition. We watch Scrooged with a takeaway on Christmas Eve. I love it. Continuing on from the same Nerdy Up North community, David Hope says he loves it. And Damian Woods, great movie. One of Bill Murray's best performances. Disco says one of my all-time favorite movies. And Ian Skine says, I love Scrooge. Pretty much anything with Bill Murray in it is usually epic. But this one is spot on. The theming and the overall take on Christmas Carol works well. Love it. 5 out of 5 for me. Ray Kelly gave it a solid 5. He says, I love pretty much every version of Christmas Carol. I feel the same. And this take on it is no exception. Bill Murray at his loud and zany best. Some neat effects and a lot of laugh out loud moments, along with a proper feel-good ending. David Howland says, put a little love in your heart, and my first cinema film. And lastly, Jason Woodhead. Along with Muppets Christmas Carol, this is watched at least once every Christmas. Maybe it's the fact that Murray gave absolutely 0 Fs about the film because he detested the director, but this is definitely one of his highlight roles. You can hardly see her nipples, and these guys are really looking.
Fair enough. And is that it for the audience then?
That is for the audience interaction. That's it.
Fantastic.
I've got one, mate.
Okay, cool. Go for it. Yeah,
it's from Simon Wolford Mullen. Hi, Simon. He says 5 stars, no flaws. Carol Kane literally kicks ass. Annie Lennox on the soundtrack. No Muppets. Bobcat Goldthwait. It's genius.
Boo. No Muppets. Boo. Cool. And is that it then for the audience response this time?
That's all.
Cool. Okay, we'll go to the conclusion and score then, just so that we can wrap a nice Christmas bow on this. And why don't we start with you, Adrienne, for your conclusion and your score out of 5 stars, please?
My conclusion is I still love this movie, even though it's very dated to the late 80s, and I give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
Fantastic, succinct and to the point. And what about you, Sandy? What's your conclusion and score out of 5?
I was a little bit disappointed when I watched this the other night, but talking about it with everybody, there was definitely a lot of things you all pointed out to me, some things that I'd missed, and I give this 3.7 out of 5.
3.7. We can always trust Sandy to be just in the weird in-between numbers. Okay, TK, what about you? Conclusion and score, please, mate.
Okay, I came late to this and didn't get into it for the longest time. Truth be told, I always sort of felt like it was overhyped, and the Bill Murray scenery chewing put me off. It wasn't until several years later that it finally clicked with me. Don't get me wrong, I still don't think it's perfect. Some scenes don't quite ring true for me. And while, yes, Frank is supposed to be unlikable, as much as I love Murray, he's still a little over the top for me in this. That knocks it off slightly. I mean, I've always been more of a Muppets Christmas Carol fan anyway, personally. But having said that, it's still a great update on the Dickens classic, and unfortunate as it may be, it's still incredibly relevant. It hasn't dated too badly, and when Murray controls his tendencies, it works. The supporting cast is great, and Donna's direction is on point. Coupled with a suitably spooky Elfman score and a soundtrack that features some real bangers, the Al Green Annie Lennox song alone is just it holds my attention. And then there's that ending. When that kicks in, any problems I have with the movie instantly melt away. It's perfect and it gets me every time. And in that regard, it's one step up above other adaptations, as it's not just a passive character, it speaks to you, the audience. It's incredibly 80s, it's cynical, it's jaded, it's commercial, but when those credits roll, it speaks to me, and I love it, and I'm going to give it 4.
Awesome. Okay. So there are 4 of us. I'm just working out the average because I know my score, but I'll read you it now. So I said it's not an easy task to take a story that is so well known and adapt it into something new whilst maintaining the core point and themes of the original. This modern updating of A Christmas Carol, though obviously dated by itself now, is a very effective use of the story to point its message towards more modern cynics and the problems of things like consumerism, corporate culture, and the pervasive influence of the media, which can be so easily misused and manipulated. As such, it makes the story, while not really new in any way, certainly more relevant. But what really shines is the little things in service of these larger themes. The performances are incredible, with some great acting, incredible comedy, outstanding direction, great effects, and a sense of slightly more mature fun to appeal to those for whom the original might be just a bit too schmaltzy. What makes it a success for me is that it uses this sense of being a bit more grown up to sneak in exactly that schmaltz, and thus hopefully delivers its beautiful message to people who might need to hear it just that little bit more. It's not a perfect movie. Some parts have dated really badly. Sometimes the familiarity works against it, despite the attempts to lampshade this. And there are small moments that perhaps push just that little bit too far, but its heart is absolutely in the right place. It's a fun time, something to enjoy for adults who still want to feel the love of the season, and a well-made product with, as DK says, a truly brilliant ending. And I also gave it 4 out of 5. So, yeah, taking those scores, we add them together, divided by 4 to get our average. So the final score for Scrooged from the Silver Screen podcast is 3.925 out of 5. So, I mean, basically 4. Sandy again bringing down the output. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't really say fairer than that. Like we see, it's not a perfect film by any means, but certainly it's still an enjoyable one, and not a terrible way to round off the year of reviews on the Silver Screen podcast here. So fantastic. Right, all that remains is for me to say to everyone out there, have a fantastic Christmas and a great new year. We will be seeing you again in 2024. So, stay tuned. But in the meantime, have a fantastic holiday season. We really do extend our best wishes to you. And from me, thank you so much to everyone who's been a guest on the Silver Screen podcast and the Star Trek podcast that we also do this year. It's been a rough one, but we've got through it, and we've got, I think, some quality content. And specifically, Present Company, thank you so much to all 3 of you for being here for me to round off the year with this review. And DK, do you have anything you want to say, or anything you want to shout out for the audience?
Not really. No social media. Just to say happy holidays, everyone, and hope to see you next year.
Awesome. And DK will be back with Cult Classics next year as well, since they were a roaring success. So look out for those as well as the Silver Screen. Adrienne, what about you? Do you want to deliver a message for the audience and anywhere they can find you?
Yes, I'm still on Twitter and X. And what I really want to say this year is for everyone, let's all wish for peace on Earth.
True. Yeah, we don't tend to get into the real world, outside of this TV screen or the movie screen, but there's a lot going on, and we do really need to wish for that, I think, even harder this year. So thank you, Adrienne, for saying that. That's quite beautiful. Awesome. And what about you, Sandy? Any message and anywhere people can find you?
I just want to give a shout out to the can of Tab soda on the boardroom table.
I really don't know what to do with that, Sandy. After Adrienne's really profound message as well. What are you like? But no, thank you so much, Sandy. You've been a treasure. Well, all of you have, but Sandy especially for helping out with the, training up on editing and delivering our audience responses and things this year. And you and Adrienne just being genuinely so positive on the Discord and keeping us going have been genuinely stars for the last year. And you are basically, as far as I'm concerned, you are honorary, effective, hosts and members of the Silver Screen podcast. And we'll be seeing more of them, audience. Don't you worry about that, I'm sure. So, yeah, awesome.
And we know that you basically think we're the same person as well.
Yes,
so that's
and we're okay. We're actually okay with it.
Look, you're both female and American. That's all I need.
And nice.
Yeah,
and
so
nice,
we're
exactly.
actually very much alike, which is wonderful. So
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not a bad thing. You guys are both really sweet. That's the thing. So no, awesome. Again, best wishes to everybody out there. Tune in and catch us again. I won't reveal any of what's coming up, but I will say there is going to be, like I said, in around a week's time on the 28th of December, a live review of the year that we're hoping everyone here will be a part of, and a few other special guests. We're just basically going to round up the best TV and movies of 2023 and look back on it, and then look forward potentially for a little few minutes to 2024 and anything that's left on the slate that hasn't been affected by various viruses, strikes, or whatever else is going on in the world. So, but no, have a great Christmas, enjoy it, really make the most of it, and let's see out the year well. And Merry Christmas, everybody. And I'm going to leave the.
Thank you for everything this year. Thank you for all you've done for the podcast and all your hard work. And DK, you too. And Sandy, thank you so much for coming on with us. It's just wonderful to have you guys here. It's wonderful to be here.
I adore you too, Adrienne.
Oh, yay.
And I'm going to leave the sign off then up to you for DK for this one to leave for the audience. So over to you.
Remember, folks, we'll be back.
God bless us, everyone.
You've been listening to the Silver Screen Podcast, hosted by Michael Wilson and DK. Produced and edited by Mike Wilson. Additional material and behind-the-scenes sections by DK. Follow us on social media. Links to all of our social media pages can be found via the Linktree page listed in the episode's description. This podcast is part of the Mike's Podcast Network. You can listen to this and our sister podcasts on all good podcast providers by searching for Silver Screen Podcast or Mike's Podcasts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share far and wide. Thank you for joining us. Come back next time for more movie magic, and hopefully this can be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Cut!